This is Kimberly Reuter, business advisor and supply chain expert, and welcome to my podcast, The Morning Mood. Today, we are continuing our series, The Architects, with special guest Kerry Morris. Kerry and I worked together at Amazon many years ago, and she started private label. And we are going to go down the story of how Amazon got into the private label business. And you're not going to believe this, but it started almost 20 years ago. I don't think it started with towels, but pretty close. But Kerry is going to tell us a story and tell us how she built the Amazon private label business. Kerry, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kim. Really excited to have this conversation and to be a part of your podcast today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here. We started working together at Amazon. I had come in and was building Amazon Global, and then there was some import stuff going on, and I got pulled into that and toys. And then all of a sudden, Amazon was doing imports all over the place. But you started, tell us how you got to Amazon and what was going on at that time at Amazon as related to private label.
Yeah. Well, I've been so fortunate because I entered the retail arena, back in the early 90s with Costco. And it's interesting because Costco actually had a private brand, which still lives on today, Kirkland Signature. But it was for a very different reason than the vision and the foundation of what we built at Amazon. It was because they could not get entrance or access into brands, the consumer pitched it.
So they needed, needed product. Okay.
Needed product, right? But it was just that first kind of taste or flavor of the power of a house brand or a private label brand. And I started to really begin to understand, what are the levers that make a retail model warrant needing a private label brand or wanting one, and took that forward into the Amazon experience when I joined the company.
Tell us what private label means. So for our audience, not everybody may be completely familiar. For a few of you, we may break a couple hearts. So buckle up. We're going to tell you some retail truth.
Yes, so there's external facing and internal facing reasons for having a private label brand. For an external facing or consumer facing experience, it's the love of a brand, it's confidence and trust in that brand. I mean, when you think about buying any brand for yourself, if you don't know the brand, you're always trying to determine that is it a good value? Is it good quality? Can I trust it? And so private label brand builds consumer loyalty, consumer trust, and knowing that they're going to get the same quality and the same value every time they buy that brand. And so that's external facing. Internal facing is really quite powerful. I think the most important thing is it gives a huge competitive advantage to a retailer. They get out of the competitive pricing rat race.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I will touch on again about why Amazon and when we launched in 2009. But another reason is it is a wealth of profit, gross margin. You can actually charge a price and drive more profit from that item than you would a branded product, which typically that brand is capturing that margin. You're able to do it here. And the last
cut out the middleman.
Yeah. And then the last one is what I like to refer to as white space. You look at your assortment of product and, what's missing from your assortment? What are you not serving your customer that they want? And then do you build a private brand into that space and offer them that great value, that great quality at a great profit margin, and actually service that customer? So it drives traffic, it drives loyalty, it drives profit, and it drives value for the consumer to be able to come back over and over again.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the foundations of it.
I will private label. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I did a couple other things before I had the opportunity to join Amazon. One of the areas that I touched on was ironic because I was at Walmart in Bentonville for a few years. And
don't think I knew that. I knew about Costco, but I did not know about a little Walmart stop.
Yeah, little Walmart. And
Okay.
I actually had the privilege of running the global private label position for Walmart. Again, it's really new for the industry. They were dabbling in, building those pillars of value and loyalty and filling their white space. But again, I mean, I'm learning from the best. I've just now spent time at both Costco and Walmart to understand early stage infancy of the private labels. Private labels, we do. Um, I had the opportunity to join Amazon. I will say, I mean, it's worth a little caveat here, but um, I did not have a computer. Well, I'm dating myself. I didn't know who the company was, and
Oh, yeah.
many people didn't. And
Mm.
and I had the opportunity to interview, actually, Jeff Bezos was on my interview loop. And
Oh, very cool.
so I got firsthand day one exposure to, what turned out to be like, for me, the continuity of my time with the company, where he never lost sight of his vision. He never lost sight of his marching orders, which is
The North Star. He always had his North Star.
Yeah.
Always.
first largest selection.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that in itself means there is a place in Amazon's history for private label.
Yeah.
It comes down to timing, the when and the where and the how. But I always knew that I would come full circle with that company and bring private label to the table. I knew it because I was the only person that had just experienced Walmart and Costco's entry level and building and architecting a brand in
You knew the potential. You knew what it was capable of doing.
Yes. Yeah. And so hit the ground running and started with actually building the more traditional retail assortment, foundationally building relationships with brands through vendors and bringing that consumer in and bringing them into the fold of the magic of Amazon. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I literally found that I was building the infrastructure, hiring the team, and trying to sell brands and vendors to trust this model because nobody knew who it was.
Yeah.
And really kind of building out that foundation. Again, like wonderful, exciting, another day content for some of the wild and crazy things we did in toys to really get it off the ground.
Oh, yeah. Toys.
Nuts. Well, that's nuts. The vein of my existence. It was my proudest moment and my most disappointing moment in my career. But sometimes greatness comes from that. When
But it did. It does. I just want to touch a little bit on the fact that this was like the infancy of private label everywhere. So the whole concept of a retailer building, manufacturing, and selling their very own product was brand new.
brand. Yeah. I mean, literally, Costco had 2 SKUs.
Yeah.
And Walmart had maybe 5 SKUs.
Yep.
And Target, who's one of the leading private label retailers in the market, had MLM. And
Yeah.
I mean, you can't walk a Kroger grocery store without tripping over at least 10 of their private label brands. So
Everyone is private label
everywhere. It's a matter of fact,
everywhere.
important part of the financial P&L of any retail business.
The total retail business, all the major luxury retailers are doing it now. Nordstrom stepped into the space. Everybody's doing it. So tell us so you were coming into Amazon, you were hired to develop private label, or was this something that you brought to the table?
I brought it to the table, Kim, because it was not something that my leadership or Jeff was interested in entertaining. And again, it came down to timing, right?
Yeah.
For me, I knew I couldn't come at this and say, we've got to do this until I felt like the environment was right. And so we had just finished launching, I would say, every major category of product in the portfolio. And that's when you want to bring in private label. You want to have a full home category, an electronic category, a toy category, a pet category. You want to have consumables. Like you want to have those things in place because you've now got an audience of consumers that are buying and shopping on your website. And now it's time to layer this in. And
Yeah.
stepping back, I knew it was the right time. I was ready for a change and I knew it was the right change to bring this forward. And so I did have the opportunity to present this to uh, both my leader as well as Jeff Bezos and his executive team and put the position that this was the right time. This was the right profit model. And most importantly, there was an aggregation or a disruption in the market, which I think actually was what got the yes for me versus a no. And that was there was a huge competitive pricing war going on between Amazon and Walmart. Amazon had the comfort and the luxury of sitting in this space without a competitive rival next to them. And Walmart had at that point really ramped up their online business. They had opened up their facility in California. That was now meeting them at their moment.
Yeah.
And for me, that the most important thing I laid out in my presentation was the fact that this would remove the competitive ability for Walmart to match us. They could not match our retail price. And if they could not match it, we could maintain the integrity of our margin and we could sell the product while delighting the customer at the profit level we needed it to be at.
Right.
So that was the turning point. Everything else was fluff. Like, not so
It's cute. We like it. They didn't really, and I remember back in those days. So one, you touched on something. At that time, Amazon was expanding their product selection aggressively. And just like you, when I interviewed with Amazon in 2025 or 2005, back it up. I didn't know what the hell they did either. I thought they sold books. And I got through 3/4 of my interview, they kept talking to me about Timex. And I, for 3/4 of my interview, thought they were talking about watches. And I was like, man, these people are really hot about the watches. It was actually the program they were interviewing for me to run, which is called Transportation Import Export, and they called it Timex. But I was totally confused. Yeah, like I was completely confused the whole time. I didn't understand what Amazon did, like you. I was just like, I don't know. This seems like a really great opportunity to build something. Let's go give it a try.
Yeah, no, so true. I had no idea other than they kept telling me they sold books. And I, okay, books. I know vendors. I know suppliers. I know the industry. I'll bring you those products. So yeah, no, it was so there's no, it's not surprising that that leadership group didn't necessarily have any visibility to what a private label was.
No.
Quite often, because there was so little in the market, you didn't even know if you did see it. Like it was present.
It was very quiet back then. And I would say it was more like in electronics is where you saw it more if you did.
Yeah.
Like it was more in the electronics industry.
Absolutely. I think another thing that is really powerful about private label is you have the ability, again, going back to that white space, but you have the ability to set a good, better, best assortment. So you can think about where is my gap in my assortment? And quite often, private label played a role as the opening price point, that really low price point. And there was actually like this really strange trend, which I'm super glad is gone, where somebody decided, let's make private label look generic, put it in a white package, put a white name on it, dummy it down, and have it be an opening price point. But it defeats the purpose of building loyalty with the consumer and adding value to the consumer. Everybody can race to the bottom. Everybody can give away product. Yes, once you can build a loyal consumer base that wants to come back over and over again and consume that private brand, whether it is a consumable or it's an everyday product.
Yeah. So let's just, I want to recap on what the stage was at the time. So you had a lot of it or some experience with Costco and Walmart with the private label, early private labels. Do you remember what the first 2 SKUs were at Costco though? Just curious.
So strange, but the very first SKU was the food saver vacuum sealer.
Interesting.
Because they sold everything in bulk, they need to provide, and they couldn't get Food Saver to sell them. They needed to have a solution. They needed to be able to bring that in. And yeah, so that was the very first one. And then the second one was a kitchen item. Again, very random. I think, they couldn't get Cuisinart or Calphalon or KitchenAid or anybody to sell them at that point. And, nowadays those brands they're land green for shelf space, but
It's trying to get in there. Yeah.
at the time, it was a very unusual model as well. And so those were the first two. I mean, they have now obviously leaped into every category of product and it dominates the food.
Everything they sell is Kirkland brand now. Yeah, it did really change their model, especially for Costco. It changed the model. Okay, so you started Amazon, you're helping with product expansion, you're seeing an opportunity for Amazon to get into private label. You've taken it to the executive team and they've given you kind of a meh.
Yeah. Let's just say definitely a meh. And the meh was, Kerry, you're very good at being disruptive. I had built a nice reputation for being scrappy and resourceful, which I love. I love that I was in a space where I could do that. So I was told you can do it, but we're not going to give you anything to do it. You're just going to go figure it out. Like no team, no resources, nothing. And like go figure it out. And of course, I love a good challenge. So,
Yeah. I was making that. I've been like, perfect. See you in 6 months.
yeah, see you. I'm bringing you along later when it gets going. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So you have brought us up to the point. You've given us a great overview of what is really going on in the private label market. Super helpful. I did not know the deep history on it. And I didn't realize that Walmart had dipped their toe into that space so early. I thought that was much later for them.
Yeah. The thing for them that was it was kind of a nod to Sam Walton more than anything. But the very first thing they introduced was a pet food called Olroy, which was his beloved dog. And so it was kind of this montage to this beloved pet in his life. And the irony of it is that dog is actually preserved and stuffed in the Sam Walton Museum and hit the back of his red pickup truck. So good old Roy.
I'm not sure. Okay, it's good. It's bad. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but all right. It's a great story that they started with the Old Roy dog feed. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us what was going on at the time. We are going to pick up again in episode 2. And Kerry is going to walk us through kind of the early stages and how she tackled this problem with just she herself and and with no support from Amazon. And so we will hear more of that story soon. So thank you for joining us and we will see you soon.
Great. Thank you.